Well, how is it going, everybody? Welcome to the Japanaholic podcast, the one-man podcast with one massive love for Japan. I am your host, Taylor Fry, and this is a very special podcast episode for almost everybody who's listening to this on YouTube, because this is actually the first time I've actually went live streaming a podcast episode. All the other times that I've recorded podcast episodes are recorded. So, yeah, there's that. So hopefully that my microphone sounds fine. Hopefully I sound fine, because I just literally got done eating. So I have some energy in me, and right now is probably the best time to talk about this said subject, which is the whole reason why you're here. But before I get into that, like I said, I hope my microphone is fine. I'm gonna turn it up just a little bit, just to be on the safe side, but because it's pointing away from me. But that's also because if I look straight at it, it kind of makes like a lot worse noises than it should, I guess. So I'll just plop it over to the side for now and hope to God that it just. Hopefully, I'm just being a little paranoid for a good reason, I guess. So I want to give off a few little things I will talk about, a couple things before we talk about the coronavirus, because I really want to talk about the coronavirus, but I really want to talk about my channel, my YouTube channel, for just a moment. For people who are listening to this outside of YouTube, like on iTunes, Google Podcast, on Podbean, or on Spotify, I do have a YouTube channel currently named the Fastlane Racing Station. However, 2021, that is set to change, but I'll go into more details about that, about the changes on that channel on a later episode, far down the line in the next couple of months, okay? Now, I do want to discuss the fact that I have over 950 subscribers right now, and it's growing like one subscriber every other day, if not, 2 subscribers every other day, which is incredible, and I'm happy about that. I just do not know what to do with the 1,000 subscriber mark. Probably a 24-hour live stream of Minecraft Hardcore. I don't freaking know, but there's that. So, as well, I also wanted to talk about this before I quickly got into the topic here about the coronavirus. The Japanaholic podcast used to have been called the Drive Time Discussion Podcast, which is why, if you listen to not only a few more episodes after this, because some of them are pre-recorded, I apologize. Okay, all of March will still be quote-unquote named Drive Time Discussion Time, because I don't want to re-record any of the episodes that I've already recorded, and I know recording a podcast, you really don't want to record far ahead in time, but I did that, and I apologize. But after during the month of April, it will start transitioning more into Japanaholic podcast. Even though, the intro song is amazing. Let me just say, I love the intro song so much. It sounds so incredible. It matches the tone a lot. Kind of like the Otaku Cast, if you've heard of that podcast, which I also am on. That's incredible, okay? Those two intro themes fit perfectly together with their themes. So, enough discussing about, my channel and, stuff outside of the coronavirus. Let's start discussing the coronavirus, shall we? Now, I originally did not really want to discuss anything about the coronavirus, because I felt like if I did, I was going to be beating a dead horse, and I really just didn't really see myself making any bigger points than what other people have done. Okay? And then I got a blog post from Gogo Nihong, which is a website for language schools in Japan, which I highly recommend their website if you do plan on moving to Japan. Best way to move to Japan outside of the JET program is getting accepted into a Japanese language school from Gogo Nihong or some other couple websites that you could probably think off the top of your head. So they sent me a blog post a couple days ago in the mail, and they gave off up as updates as to what's going on with the coronavirus in Japan. Okay, now I live in the United States as of right now, and it is an issue here. It's pretty much an issue everywhere. The coronavirus is an issue everywhere in the world. I mean, almost every country has at least one or two cases of the coronavirus. My home state, okay, has a few uh coronavirus cases. I don't know exactly where, and I'm kind of terrified as to where they're at because I'm going to Indianapolis today just in a few hours, and I'm fucking terrified. Sorry about that F-bomb, but I'm terrified that I'm going to be getting the coronavirus down there. Now, I'm not saying I'm terrified of the coronavirus. My personal opinion is that I don't see much, you know, I see it as the media blowing this way out of proportion because it is election year and, it's a good subject for the candidates or whatever of the presidential election or whatever to discuss it. I don't give a fuck about politics, so I'm not going to get into that. But Gokuni Hog sent me a blog post about the coronavirus in Japan and what language, school students need to know about it. But for the most part, this basically translates for me into, yeah, here's information about the coronavirus in Japan, just so you understand it. Now, this blog post, keep in mind, was released the 2nd of March, which was just a few days, which, as of recording this, was just like last week or something like that. But probably when you're watching this, whatever, it's probably been just a little bit down the line, I guess. Probably a few weeks, probably a few months, who knows. But basically, for anybody who doesn't know what Gogoni Hog's like, where they're stationed in Tokyo. They're in the dead center of Japan, okay? Their biggest city possible in Japan, okay? And they have over 40 staff members from 20 different countries, okay? And, and what they said, okay, what Gogoni Hog said is life is going on as if, as just it's another like thing. It's another sickness to them. It's like you don't want to get it. Like, who wants to get sick? But it's not like it's like so dangerous that travel bans are everywhere. Okay. What as of March 2nd, okay, some of these numbers can be inflated just a little bit. You could probably like up it by like 0.5% or something like that, maybe up a percentage or whatever. I'm not exactly sure what the number of cases are right now, but this is just an article that I'm reading right now that came out how many days ago as of recording? About 8 days ago. Maybe a little bit more than that. But the total number of cases in Japan as of March 2nd is just under 100,000, which I'm probably sure is a little bit over that, but I'm just going to say it's a little over 100,000. But the biggest thing is that the newly recovered patients has been greater than the newly infected. Okay, every day since February 19th, people are people are recovering from the coronavirus more than people are getting infected by the coronavirus. Okay, the only really main difference about the coronavirus in Japan is that people are taking, more precautionary measures, like they're wearing the face mask a little bit more. It's a little bit more common to see those nowadays, and that as well as people are just washing their hands more in general and stuff like that, which if you're not doing that already, that's kind of disgusting, but not going to talk about that. But pretty much, I don't really want to discuss a whole lot about this topic. That's why this is a 0.5 episode, because I don't really want to discuss too much about this, because I feel like there really isn't too much to discuss about the coronavirus. Okay? To me, I really don't see, it being as, even more dangerous than the flu, because it's just like, the symptoms are the same as the flu. And if you look at statistics and you look more into it, the more and more you go into it, it's like, and you look at like the people who have actually been, unfortunately, fell victim to this and passed away from it, unfortunately, they're mostly like elderly or senior people, okay? And for the most part, maybe a few children here. Maybe a few children, if I remember correctly. I'm not exactly sure the amount. But it mainly affects the elderly and it mainly affects like small children, okay? Anything between that, it's just, as long as you have, a good immune system and as long as you have like, you know, some like medicines here and there and as long as you take care of your body and how to fight sicknesses and stuff like that, it's not much of an issue, okay? Uh, Me personally, I've never really I haven't dealt with the flu in several years now, which is crazy because like I've heard people like every year get the flu. Like a couple of my friends at least like tell me they get the flu like once a year. Like every year they get the flu and they have to like miss school like every so often because of the flu. It's like I don't get the flu. My voice is just naturally like nasally in whatever for whatever reason. And you know, I can't handle the cold weather that much, but I really never get sick. So I'm just trying to figure out exactly, you know, where like I'm my immune system that good? Maybe. I don't freaking know. We'll find out when I get the coronavirus. Haha. But uh going back to the the blog post, okay? Most of the cases, excuse me. Most of the cases from Japan come from that Diamond Princess cruise ship that was stationed in Japan. I can't remember the exact location, but it's only affecting like a small portion of the Japanese population. Like you really like if you're traveling to Japan or if you're living in Japan, you really shouldn't you're not going to really have to worry about it because Japan is it's cleaner than the United States here. When the coronavirus came to the United States, it went everywhere. It went from New York, it went to Seattle, it went to Washington, it went to here in my flippin' home state of Indiana. I it's just I do not understand why it's worse here than in Japan, where Japan is like right next to China, whereas, we are like over a freaking 100,000 miles away from China. But, you know, I plane rides from hell, I guess you could say that. But travel ban wise, I mean, the only like big travel bans that United States has and what Japan has, it's just you can't really go to China, you can't really go to the Koreas, but you can still go to Japan. So if you have a trip to Japan that you have planned, aka me, go for it. And I'm not gonna cancel my trip to Japan. Why would I ever want to do that? So, I mean, I feel like I could just end the podcast episode right here because it's like, is there really much else to say about the coronavirus that hasn't been said already by like hundreds of other people who do like podcasts and stuff like that? If you listen to the Abroad in Japan podcast, probably you've heard them speak about it like already, so why hear my opinion on it or something like that? I'm just saying. But I got interested in this subject because of the Abroad in Japan podcast, and I was just like, I really want to discuss this just so I could get it off my chest. And I really wanted to see if I could give off a little bit more information, but I really can't. I really can't give off too much more information, if any, because of the fact that this coronavirus has been covered by so many people that the only thing you're going to really get out of it is their personal opinion on if they're afraid of it or if they think that it's been blown out of proportions by the media. Okay, there's two sides to this. Okay, you're on either the side of this is worse than the flu, or you're on the side of this is way out of proportion. This is blown out of proportion by the media. And I'm on the side of that it's blown out of proportion by the media because of what I said earlier. It is election year, okay? And if you follow like any sort of major presidential debates or whatever like that, about 100 questions are probably gonna be all like, "How would you fight the coronavirus? How do you think we could fight the coronavirus? Do you think we could find a way to find a cure for the coronavirus?" Which, they're slowly making a cure. And I'm happy that, a cure is being, brought up and, they're finding a cure. But I still I don't know. To me, it's just the coronavirus. To me, as of right now, okay, it could get worse, and this is what I hope to God doesn't happen, because why would anybody want this to happen in the first place? I don't freaking know. But I just hope that it will start declining once spring starts coming around. And if you can tell by my voice, spring is starting to come around, because it's starting to get hotter outside, and that's when the flower starts blooming. I mean, we still have the month of March to get through, and then, then the real spring happens. But once spring comes around and once summer starts rolling around too, when the weather starts getting warmer and warmer and warmer, and we start having less of those cold days where the immune system is more fucked, because cold weather sucks for your body. Okay? Coming from a guy who has to work outside a lot. So, just saying that the coronavirus is probably, I really hope to God that it's already peaked, but I could be wrong, and I don't want to be wrong. I seriously don't want this virus to go any worse than it already has, okay? Because I don't want people to get infected, okay? It's like, just, as much as I say, like, I'm not worried about it, it's just another, like, flu strain or whatever, I don't want anybody to get infected by it. And I'm not saying it's like, something that everybody should ignore, because it's kind of like, in a sense, kind of like the swine flu back a decade ago or whatever, over a decade ago. Okay, it's like, don't overlook it, but don't really be afraid by it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's like, don't go too crazy over it, because hopefully it's already peaked, and I hope to God it really doesn't go any worse than this. Because especially now that I'm taking a trip to Japan in June, I really don't want, okay, any travel bans to fuck that all up, okay? And for Japan, I hope that they can pull through with this. And I hope that, with the coronavirus, hopefully it won't become such a big disaster that they have to cancel the Olympics. Because it's been discussed upon so many times already that events such as the Olympics, several F1 races, several WWE events, including WrestleMania, and anime. There were, I think it was AnimeCon. I can't remember if that was its name or not, but that got canceled because of the coronavirus. I don't want any events canceled by the coronavirus, and especially the Olympics. Okay, because it would just absolutely be terrible, not only for Japan, but for the Olympics in general, to be canceled. Because, I mean, the only other time that I can remember that the Olympics were canceled were back in the 1940s, for obvious reasons. Okay? If you go back to that time period. So I don't want it canceled. Like, nobody wants it canceled because it's like the Olympics, especially the Summer Olympics, okay? The Summer Olympics are more popular, in my opinion. I think they are, actually. They're more popular than the Winter Olympics. I could be wrong. They could be just as popular, but I don't know. I look forward to the Summer Olympics more than the Winter Olympics. I think that's just because I'm more of a summer guy. I don't know. That's just me. But um anyway, having the Summer Olympics canceled, especially in Tokyo, where they haven't hosted any Olympic events in decades, if ever. I think they were the one that, I think if I remember correctly, they were the ones that, I think they had to cancel back in the 40s. That if I remember correctly. I may be wrong on that. Someone fact check me that. But anyway, to have it canceled would not only hurt the Japanese economy, but would just hurt the Olympics, okay? Because it's like it sucks. You don't want to have it to where there's a chance that millions upon millions of people could get sick, okay? And that hundreds of thousands of them could wind up, you know, could have hundreds of thousands of fatalities because of this sickness if it ever evolves. Okay? So that's why I'm hoping that things just calm down. Okay? Right now, everything seems calm in Japan. There's only been, if I remember correctly, 8 fatalities, which sucks. You don't want any fatalities, but there's been 8, and it could be a whole lot worse. But I don't want it to be any worse, okay? Nobody wants it to be any worse than what it is right now. So, if the coronavirus ends up canceling the Olympics, it would just have a massive blow in everything. The Olympics, Japan's economy, and probably the athletes that tried, that prepared, trained for 3.5, even the 4 years, only to just find out, oh yeah, guess what? You can't, you're not going to go to Japan because the coronavirus. So, oh well. 4 more years, woo. It's like, if I was an athlete, I'd be like, fuck. So, yeah. And then, the other events that I was talking about, like WrestleMania. I'm not much of a WWE fan anymore. I still keep an eye on it every once in a while. Like with the Elimination Chamber last night, I didn't watch it, but I saw, a few moments here and there. They were okay. I mean, I'm just not as big as a fan as I was back then, but having WrestleMania to be canceled, I mean, oh my god. I couldn't think of a time where that would happen. If you told me that 5 years ago that hey, there could be a chance that WrestleMania could be canceled one year because of a sickness, it's like, wow. That's not good. I mean, just just a few days ago we were celebrating Disturbed's 20th anniversary of the Sickness album. I mean, that was a great album, but man, I'd rather be talking about that sickness than the coronavirus sickness. Come on now. Just whatever ends up happening with coronavirus, I hope that since spring is around the corner and summer is just knocking on our doors, that the coronavirus will stop spreading at such a rapid pace that we can finally find a cure in time for the Olympics. But that's just a very, very wide shot in the dark. Okay? Things could change in a snap of a finger, and who knows what will happen. Okay? I'm hoping for the best, but at the same time, not to sound sadistic, not to sound terrible, but I am also expecting a little bit of bad things to come. But I'm also hoping that doesn't happen. I don't want the worst to happen. I hope the worst is already behind us, but there's that chance that could happen. All right? So I think I'm going to wrap it up with this podcast episode. Okay, it's about a little less than a half an hour long, which is fine for, me recording this first time on my YouTube channel live, okay, with not very much time to like do any edits or anything like that, post recording to get this up on Podbean. I want to do as minimal edits as possible, okay? Probably won't do any at all, just savor the fact that this was uh, a live recorded podcast episode on my YouTube channel. And if you do enjoy this podcast, the new, I want to call it new, even though it's been going on for a few weeks now. But it was rebranded because I felt like I really didn't like the whole title being called Drive Time Discussion Time, because I hated that title. At first I thought it was cool, and then I kept saying it, and I was just like, man, this is retarded. More and more retarded. So, I changed it to the Japanaholic podcast because because I thought about like nicknames of people who love Japan, and then I was like, Japanaholic. It sounds cool. And then Japanaholic. So, like I said in the beginning part of the podcast episode, there will be a few more episodes where I refer to the podcast as Drive Time Discussion Time, and the intro will be the same as it has been the last 2 weeks. But as soon as March is done and the April episodes start rolling out, the new and improved, very amazing intro song that you heard at the beginning of this episode will be played every week from then on. And all the episodes will continue to be published around 10 o'clock in the morning, Eastern time on Wednesdays. And if there's any like special episodes like this one, would be on either Fridays or Saturdays. Okay, just a little bit of clarification there. But yeah, usually when I do these 0.5 episodes or whatever, it's probably just an excuse for me to make another episode. So, So, thank you all so much for tuning in to the Japanaholic podcast. Please give the podcast a follow on Spotify or on iTunes or whatever you listen to your podcast on. Or if you're listening to this from the YouTube channel or on the Fastlane Racing Station, go ahead and click the subscribe button, click the like button, do all that sort of good stuff, because, man, I'm about to hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. I want to hit that 1,000 subscriber mark before I come back to Japan, if there is not a travel ban from the coronavirus. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the Japanaholic podcast. Good night, everybody.